Nicolle here again. Thank you so much for being here with me again, and you are more than halfway through these videos, learning some fundamentals and on your way to learning to play Jingle Bells. I'm really excited for this video. Seriously, this is where I get really pumped up and where I feel like we really get to crank up the heat and really help you to learn to play Jingle Bells and to sound awesome doing so. I know up until this point you've learned some of the basics, some of the fundamentals and nitty-gritty necessities, but really nitty-gritties about getting ready to play the violin, how to hold the violin, how to hold the bow, how to tune your violin, how to put these special tapes and sticker on your violin here, and on this video we get to kind of crank it up a notch, and I'm excited to teach you how to make a beautiful sound. This is a big deal and it really gets me ramped up and just so excited to be sharing it with you. So I have to say, and I'll take a little bit of pride in this here, but I have a lot of people that ask me when they learn that I teach, and they say, oh, but how long is it until a student can really make a good sound? Isn't it a while when those beginners just sound like dying cats? Don't you hate that beginning stage? And honestly, my answer to them is no. Like I really can't relate and know what you're talking about, because I teach my students how to create a beautiful sound from the get-go, and that's what I get to teach with you today. I get to teach you today how to make a beautiful sound, what's required both on the violin in the left hand and the right hand to create that beautiful sound that you're looking for. So, without any further ado, let's jump right in and get started. We've talked a lot about the position again of the violin, of the bow, so we're going to get all of those things in position. Let's first start with that bow hold. Again, hold that bow with the left hand, flop, 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 relax it, flop it right there. Bring that thumb right in, get that nice and bent, bring this pinky up, bring the first finger there, keep these fingers nice and round and relaxed just like that. We're going to get the violin position nice and ready, hold it out in front of you with that left arm, gently bring it over so it rests on your left shoulder, position your chin right into position, and make sure that this left hand is looking awesome, it's nice and opened. I still have my Mr. Smiley here. Make sure that hand's nice and open. My wrist is nice and straight here. My palm is nice and open. I have my awesome spy hole. My thumb is nice and low. My fingers are hovering over those strings, ready to be tall. So, a couple pointers I want to give you first for this left hand to create an awesome sound. First and foremost, now that we have these tapes on our violin, anytime you are putting your fingers down, not only do they need to be tall, right on the very tips, but I want them to be right on those tapes. I compare this oftentimes with putting the fingers on the tapes to the lava game. I don't know if you used to play the lava game growing up, but when I grew up we played the lava game, and we pretended that the furniture in the room was all safe ground, but the carpet was lava, and if you touched the carpet you were dead. I want you to think of that same game when you're putting your fingers here on the tapes. Unfortunately, with the violin, close doesn't cut it. So your fingers need to be right on those tapes. Those tapes are the safe ground. Anywhere on the black fingerboard is lava territory. I tell my little students that that's where the lava monster gets you. So those fingers need to be tall, right on those tapes. That makes a difference because that's where our notes are in tune. If your fingers are just slightly off those tapes, you're not actually playing the note that you're meaning to, and it's going to sound out of tune. So first and foremost, to create an awesome sound, make sure that those fingers are tall, directly on those tapes. Second, when they're going down, put those fingers down firmly. They're going to go down almost like a little hammer, very firmly, and then when those fingers are done, you're going to pop it off like popcorn. Okay, so putting it down firmly is going to give you a nice clear sound. Let me give you an example of what it should sound like when it's put down firmly and what it does sound like when it's not. So when your finger's down firmly, you have a beautiful clear sound like that. If my finger's not down firmly means you're pressing it and that finger's in contact, I should say, with the fingerboard. If my finger's kind of only partly pressed down, you get that gorgeous sound, and that's when you start to sound like a dying cat. So push that finger down firmly right on that tape. When you're done with that finger, pop it off. Easy? Yeah, not too bad. Okay? Pretty easy, simple trick there with the left hand. I'm gonna give you a few quick tips for the right hand here. So you have your awesome bow hold. From there, what is a huge difference maker in terms of your sound is where you're putting that bow on your string here. I like to call and think of this as a highway, okay? You have, we'll think of our bow like a car. You have the car that drives down the highway, okay? We want it to be ideally in the middle, nice and straight. Straight, when it comes to a bow, is parallel to the bridge here. So we want it to be nice and straight in the middle of the highway there, okay? Over the fingerboard, it's gonna create a bad sound. Going over the bridge or too close to it's also going to create a bad sound. Like I mentioned before in earlier videos, I believe anyone can play the violin. So I'd like to give you some tips that help to make it easier for maybe even younger students, little kids to remember, or just an easy way for you to remember when you're the one playing. So remember, your bow is like that car. The car is going to drive on the highway. I like to think of it that when it's going over the fingerboard here, this black part, that's like running over people's lawn and over the sidewalk. It also doesn't sound good. When we're going over the bridge here, we're falling over the bridge in our car. So we want to stay right on the middle here. Let me show you what a difference this makes in sound when you're in the right place. So when our bow is straight, again, meaning parallel to the bridge here, we can have a beautiful, beautiful sound. When we start to move towards the fingerboard, not, okay? Gross. That's a beautiful sound again. Versus moving over there, yuck, okay? So, when you're using your bow, we want it to be nice and in the center of your highway, right there, parallel to the bridge, pulling nice and open here. That's going to create the beautiful sound. Okay. The other thing I'm going to recommend is as you're keeping it straight here, remember to open as you're moving that bow. Open this right arm at this elbow like this. Often what creates a terrible sound for people is having what I call a Barbie arm, where this arm is rigid and it's moving like this as opposed to opening like that. What that will do is it'll cause your bow to be skiwampus, to not be straight. So remember to keep that parallel again with the bridge. Open at your elbow there. Okay. The last thing that so affects our sound is how much bow we use and the pressure or weight that we put into that bow and into our arm. We want the pressure and weight in our arm to be relevant to the amount of bow we're using and how fast we're moving that bow. So the faster you're moving your bow or the more bow you use a little bit more pressure. The slower the bow is or the less bow you use, take some of that pressure off. You'll know it's not quite sounding right if you're getting some funky sounds like this. So if I'm using too much bow but not enough pressure, it's going to sound wispy a little bit. Creates a sound that sounds like it could just blow away at any moment. If I'm not using enough bow, but I have too much pressure, it'll sound crunched and crushed like that, okay? Your unfortunate family or neighbors or roommates are gonna ask you to kindly please practice in the garage. So those are some things I want you to think about. So having the pressure be relevant to the amount of bow you're using and the speed of the bow. Experiment with this a little bit at home. I've obviously been playing for years and I've been teaching for years. This is your first time. It doesn't mean you can't figure it out, but do experiment. Put that bow right on the string there. Remember, keep it parallel with your bridge. Open from your arm. Experiment with pressure. Okay, because if it's starting to sound a little bit wispy, either lessen the amount of bow that you're using or add a little bit more pressure. If it's starting to sound a little bit crunched, use more bow or take off some of that pressure. Those are some of the key little elements that can help you to have an immediately awesome sound. Get started. We have one more video coming. Drum roll. You get to learn to play Jingle Bells. See you in just a minute.